welcome to Show Up, Stand Out Online Visibility Series for Entrepreneurs. My name is Juliette Stapleton. I'm known as the Queen of Visibility. Today, I have another royal presence in the house. I have the systems queen, Marissa Stone. And Marissa is a business growth strategist. She is helping high integrity six-figure female entrepreneurs with the knowledge they need to create lead generation, automation, marketing, client retention strategies, and so much more. She's also a host of the brand spanking new Women's Biz System podcast. And I absolutely love it. And so we are going to talk today, guys, about something very special. And that's how we met. We met as I was a guest on Marissa's summit. So, but before we go into the summits, Marissa, how, what do you see, you are helping people, you're helping, high-level entrepreneurs. What is the biggest problem with visibility with them? Do you think?
I think the biggest problem is they are scared to step into their own role as CEO. The reason that I call myself the systems queen is because when entrepreneurs come into my company and begin working with me, they kind of feel like Cinderella, right? They're overwhelmed. They have way too much on their plate and they can't get it all done. And obviously are not able to focus on those income generating activities that we all need to be engaged in order to move forward in our business. And so I think the biggest thing is they struggle to hand things off and they struggle to step into that CEO role, which requires them to show up and be visible and get in front of their prospects and their clients and move their message out to the world so that they can hit that next income level.
It is so strange in a way, kind of funny in a way. You work so hard and you build a business, you achieve this, first landmark six-figure business, you're happy. And yet the scariest thing is to show up and actually take responsibility for all these amazing achievements that you did, because it's hard. It's not so easy to just go into six figures. It took a lot of time. And I know so many as well, especially I think female entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs who are doing things from the point of love and giving and helping. And yet then when saying, well, you know what, I deserve this. This is what I did. And this is my story. I'm going to share this, how I did it. That's where there is a big, it's like a block. Isn't it?
It's like a block. And part of the problem is we're not socialized to do this, right? We're socialized, what does the educational system look like? You show up in the classroom and you sit down in your nice little row and when you line up to go somewhere, you're walking in your nice little line and you're socialized to go along with the status quo. And entrepreneurs simply don't. We reinvent the wheel and we bust through the status quo and we redesign things and we build the life that we want, which means there's not a handbook,
You really have to break the rules all the time. You have to break what's you sort of have to do. This is so funny because my husband always tells me what I do is not a business, even though it's generating all this money. But it's just completely different way doing it than what, as you said, as we are socialized or taught to do.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think that once you step out of that, you allow yourself to move past what you've been taught and say, no, that doesn't work for me. I want to reimagine what I want my life to look like. I want to reimagine what I want my role to be in my company. I want to reimagine how I want to serve my tribe and serve the world and change the lives of those around me. That's when things begin to really transition for you. And you can step up and be that that queen of visibility or that systems queen or whatever it is you are accomplishing. So yes.
It is so true. And even with the queen of visibility, it took guts. I remember the very first time somebody called me that, and I thought to myself, it's either going to go very naff way or I'm going to just take responsibility. And I think this is what it is. If you want to take responsibility and show up as what you decide to be, everything aligns, everything goes into flow, but if you're not taking 100% responsibility for what you want to be, then it feels wrong and naff and, it just doesn't fit, isn't it? So guys, take responsibility. You deserve it. You've come this far. It's all about acknowledging what you've done. But let's talk about summits, because summits is it's a scary thing for people. But I know that you believe, and so do I, although I haven't run my own summit yet, I'm kind of being a guest more, but things are still to come in my journey. You are saying that this is the best way to increase your visibility.
It is definitely one of the best. Obviously, you know, everybody's path is a little bit different. My summit came about because my overarching passion and everything I do is to empower women. And I want to empower as many women as I can with the systems they need to run their businesses. And I've been doing systems all my life. I just didn't realize it until I stepped into the entrepreneur world, and I was like, oh yeah, I can do that, and I can do that, and I can do that. And it all had to do with systems. And what I find is when my clients come to me, they're intimidated by technology. They're overwhelmed with the process of accomplishing the goal. There are too many moving pieces, and it just, it really plummets them. I have one client who tells me that every single time she steps into my office, her shoulders relax because she knows she's going to leave with a system that is going to work. And so that led me into, well, how can I normalize systems for female entrepreneurs, right? How can I make this not such a scary thing, or not something that people just don't want to do and they run screaming from me when I introduce them to a new system? And I came across this idea. I ran into somebody who was running their own virtual summit, and I thought, well, that's an interesting concept. I had never seen one before. I had never done one before. So here I was, very wet behind the ears when it came to virtual summits. But I wanted so bad to empower the women in my world. I just jumped full on, and dove in. And I learned a lot along the way. But what I have found after interviewing hundreds of women is it really doesn't matter where you are in business, what your background is, who your niche market is. None of those things matter when it comes to running a virtual summit, because the goal here is whatever the concept and the topic is, you're releasing that into the world. And you begin to make these connections with some phenomenal people, and they literally come out of the woodwork. And it doesn't really matter who you're talking to or what you're doing. We're all struggling with the same systems in our businesses to get to that next level, whatever that next level looks like for you. And so I think one of my biggest aha moments was, this is not just me preaching about systems. This is every female entrepreneur I come into contact with. She has her favorite system and she uses it to move the needle on her business. And that's what the summit is all about, introducing you to those systems. And then we have obviously we have a free version, but we also have that all access pass, because we want you to have that just in time learning. So for instance, in the last summit, I had a number of people come in and talk about producing a book, authorship, publication, things like that. And you may not be ready to publish a book right now, but by grabbing that all access pass, you can go back and have that just in time learning opportunity to really learn and dive deep into that content inside the summit. So in my mind, a summit really represents everything you need to know about that specific topic from the peers that you are working with and or will be working with one day. And that to me is brilliant.
I love this system. And in fact, it works both ways. So for you as running someone who runs the summit, and you put so much time and effort, and yes, you monetize by selling the pass. But for me, say, for example, I'm a guest. I am someone who just signs into a free summit first. There is so much goodness. Recently I signed up for a summit. It ran for 2 weeks. Every day there was 2 interviews released. There was so much goodness. But trust me, at the very end, information doesn't get stuck in our, you want it all to soak it all in there and then, but there's too much. So you eventually just become like fatigued to this whole information. And of course, you'd want to have the extra layer, and you want to have it there. And even, okay, maybe this month is not the time, but next month when I'm addressing this particular subject, I want to go there and listen again and go into in-depth strategies, and then pick up and create maybe my own system or strategy, or, the way to do things based on, like, I love bouncing of people's strategies and ideas, because I do believe that not every, maybe not with systems as much, but with strategies, not every strategy works for everybody, because, different audience, different person, all these things. I loved what you said, that you were always a systems person, but you didn't realize it until you became an entrepreneur. I can so relate. I never thought of myself as a strategic and tactical person, and only becoming a strategist, I realized everything I do is strategic. It's so funny. But, it's like when you become an entrepreneur, you find out a lot of things about yourself, don't you?
do. Yes, for sure. And as a host of a summit, you also reap those benefits. There are a number of different ways you can lay your summits out, right? You can run a multi-day summit, right? And that's usually your 3, 5, 10-day summits that you see out here. You can also run a one-day summit. You can also run an evergreen summit. Like, there's a number of different ways you can set it up as a business owner that then becomes a lucrative piece, a lead magnet, for instance, that's a really powerful one for you to continue to pull those prospects in over time. So it really just depends. Is your summit all about a topic that you want to jump in and jump out and move on? Is your summit one that you're going to use as a lead magnet to be able to sell later on, lead into an online course? Is your summit something that, that you just want to give, 5 or 6 speakers an opportunity to show up on, the virtual stage and deliver their content? So really, it's all up to you how you want to run the summit. And that's the thing I love about it. It's like anything else that we do as an entrepreneur. It's very adaptable to whatever your goal is.
I wanted to ask this at the end of the interview, but maybe this feels like the right time to ask you. Yes, there's different ways of running the summits, the different formats, but I think that a lot of people, because a lot of people are not technical, right? The majority of people are not technical, and they overthink before they even start. It feels like summit is something so complicated. What is your experience? How would you say that you really need a team and you need to outsource this, or is it something that you can do yourself?
So obviously there are many different camps of ideas when it comes to whether or not you can do this yourself. My very first summit, the first year that I ran the summit, I did it 100% myself, and I actually had a really good turnout. I was kind of surprised. So it depends on how complicated you want it to be. Do you want a full, robust funnel with a full, robust membership site behind it? If that's the case, you're probably going to want to have some people on board to help you out with that. Do you simply want to show up on a Facebook Live and talk to your speakers right there inside your group or on your page? That's a different type of a summit, right? So, and then if you want to just send your summit out via email, again, that's a different type of a summit. So it's really up to you. That's one of the things I love about running a summit, is you really can design the summit the way that you want, based on your resources, what your goal is, and who you are speaking with. So I think that really it's up to you. If you're not a super high-techy person, then don't go the super high-tech route. Really break it down and make it simple. You have the option today of showing up on most platforms and doing a live stream. So you don't necessarily need to do pre-recorded sessions or any of those sorts of things, video editing, all of that. You don't necessarily need to do that. But I will tell you, the most important thing with regard to running your own summit is vetting your speakers.
Oh, this is such a great subject. And I know that this is a little bit different from people saying, how, like, some people come from a point of lack, I think, and they just want to get almost like anyone just so they have a speaker. But I know you have a system. Of course you do.
Of course I do.
You're the systems queen. So what is your step-by-step process for vetting the speakers? And I know I made it through the process, guys. I'm so proud of myself. So let's reveal the secret.
Yes, it is a very robust system, and there is a reason that it is so robust. So I get hundreds of applications every year for my summit, and obviously I can't take them all. I've only got 5 days with which I present content, so I have to narrow that list down. So I have a 5-step system that I use, and the first step is a very robust application process. This should include absolutely everything you imagine that you might need to know about your speaker. So this may be, the URL to their company, obviously their name and information there. You also want to collect all of their social channels, right? Where do they hang out? Where does their audience hang out? I also collect the number of followers on each channel, because that gives me a baseline from which we are starting when we begin promoting the summit. And then you want to collect things like, the topic, the abstract of what they're going to talk about, 3 to 5, key components that they want to hit on when you're going through the interview process. And by collecting all of that up front from them, their image, the details, by collecting all of that up front, you don't play that back and forth over email game that nobody likes to play, you know?
I agree, absolutely. In fact, you know, I have a training on how to run interviews, you know, as I do a lot of interviews. And this is the first thing that I teach is this form, and do not chase anybody, or don't do this. What time works for you?
Yeah.
Have it all there. Exactly. So the form, basically, it's, you know what, it's not even just with summits. It's with any kind of client, you know, research. Pre-qualifying is so important. So that's pretty much what you're doing and collecting all the information.
And that is huge. And so that application process actually allows me to then weed people out. So step 2, now I use Google Forms for my application because it automatically, I can, with a click of a button, spits out into a spreadsheet, and I can look at all of my applications all at once in one screen, right? And immediately weed out those who have not completed the application. Because if you're not stepping up to complete the application, that tells me perhaps you're not ready yet, right? And that's okay. You know, this is an annual event. You're welcome to reapply the following year or whatever. But then I can take that spreadsheet and I can color code it based on, you know, if everything is complete. So for instance, in my color coding, if your line item is in yellow, that means I still need a few things from you. Perhaps I don't have your headshot. Perhaps I don't have your freebie lead magnet. And a lot of times I have speakers who want to send that later, which is okay. But before it's all said and done, I've got to get that document or that URL so I can put it on their speaker page. So then if you're color coded in blue, everything is done and you're perfect. If you're color coded in my lovely coral, then you are going to be one of my featured speakers. And it allows me to look very, very quickly at my spreadsheet and determine exactly where my speaker list is in any given moment when I'm going through the process.
That is brilliant. But I remember you went further than that. So that was like the first step, wasn't it? So
that was the first step. So then in step 3, obviously we're weeding out those who did not follow directions. But the next level is I go and stalk them for a little bit. I look at their links. I check out their content. I ensure that, you know, I watch some of their videos. I ensure that the message that they are delivering to their audience aligns with the message that I'm delivering to mine, and also aligns with the content that I know my audience is looking for. And this is a key component because your attendees are only going to show up if you're speaking their language, if you're delivering something that they are interested in learning. And so by spending a little bit of time listening to your audience first, before you put out your call for speakers, you're going to know exactly what your audience needs, and you're going to be able to hone in on who those speakers are that you want to pull into your summit.
That is such a great point, you know, and I want to just add to this, guys, if somebody is applying, or say you maybe agreed, if it's not a summit, let's say an interview, and you already agreed, but you actually didn't do that research, and then you feel like that this person who is coming is not right for your audience, it is absolutely okay to decommit and cancel your thing, because your audience and serving your audience is the most important thing, and it will add bonus points for you, bonus points for your credibility. It will fit the audience. They will feel like they're getting value. If you don't do this vetting, and I know that because I've learned the hard way. I'm also the queen of winging it, and I've learned the hard way that you shouldn't be the queen of winging it, that you should do your prep and you should do your homework, because it just pays off so much better. So great point. Great point.
It certainly pays off better. And it also gives you that opportunity. So one of the things that I do differently than a lot of other summit hosts is I send my speakers a document that tells them exactly how the interview is going to go, along with the questions I intend to ask them. And by vetting them and taking a look at their channels and taking a look at, you know, the type of content they put out, it allows me to design the questions that are not only going to appeal to my attendees, but also really showcase the knowledge that that speaker has. And this is all about producing content that is at a higher standard for your attendees. And it allows you to do that when you take that few minutes. It doesn't take that long. And I don't hand this off to an assistant. I do this myself, because when I'm inviting someone to come to my summit, I'm also inviting them to step into this learning box with me for a moment about that particular topic area. And the way that I've designed the questions helps them to understand, okay, the learning starts here and it ends here. And it helps their brain to be able to consume that content in such a way that they now can deliver it and do something with it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. So that was step
3. So step 4 is the next thing you want to do is send out a speaker agreement. Now there are tons of, templates out there on the web that helps you to design your own speaker agreement, but you want to think through for yourself, what am I going to do with this content when I'm done? When the summit is all said and done and over, then what? Because I have hundreds of interviews that now I can repurpose and do really cool things with. But I have to have permission from the speaker in order to do that. Now, I use a digital signature software called DocHub. I love DocHub because it's like $59 a year, and I have an unlimited number of documents. I can set up a template, especially when it comes to something like this, where I'm sending out 50 or 60 documents to different speakers. I can set up a template and just shoot it to everyone. And DocHub does the follow-up for me. So let's say, Juliette and I are entering into this agreement and I send her a DocHub. Well, the system will then follow up and say, oh yeah, Juliette, don't forget, Marissa needs you to sign this speaker agreement. And that eliminates, again, that back and forth via email game that I do not want to play. Now, when I do my speaker agreement, I also attach the welcome letter. It eliminates, too many emails going on back and forth between me and the speaker, and it gives them the entire, congratulations, we're so excited you're here. It lifts them up, and then they go into the speaker agreement and get that signed, and they know exactly what to expect from that moment on.
Exactly. It's great. Actually, if you don't have too many agreements to sign, I think HelloSign, you can even use, I think, up to 3 documents for free. So there's always an option, but it is a good point. I also have on my form, on these interviews, for example, I do have as well, like a little tick box, agreements, because you would want to repurpose this content. There's so much you can do with your interviews, create blog posts, podcasts, so much more. And you know what, speakers, most of the time, 99.9, are happy. They're happy because we're always, we're also promoting ourselves. We're building our visibility, are adding credibility to who we are as experts. So we want to be seen more wherever it is.
Yeah. And that also opens up opportunities for collaboration. And I cannot even tell you how much collaborating with other people has built my email list and built my credibility and allowed me to really step into the role of the systems queen. It is a game changer. And one of the things I love about the summit is it allows you to step into that role because you're seen alongside some phenomenal people.
That is so true. That is so true. And that was number 4.
And that was number 4. And step 5 is the last step, which is sending out the scheduling link. Now, my scheduling link contains yet another questionnaire for those who perhaps, forgot their headshot on their application, or they forgot their talking points, or adding in their abstract, but I had a conversation with them, so I know that they've got this content, they just need to put it in. And then, if they were working on their URL at the time of the application, this gets them that opportunity to put in the URL for their freebie or their lead magnet that they're going to share with the audience. It's just a kind of a last minute checklist. Hey, did you make sure I had all these things before we go to schedule your interview? And because I have that 5-step process in place, it has completely eliminated the headache and the overwhelm with regard to managing this many speakers. My summit typically has 50 speakers. This year I have 64.
Wow, that is impressive. And I also know, as being one of the speakers on your summit, that's a lot of, like, we did 2 interviews in one go as well, and both of those interviews had questions for each interview. And I know you were in my group, I know you were stalking me for a while, so all these steps I went through as a guest. And you know what, this is the most important thing. And I personally prefer, say, sending all the details straight away, because I'm exactly like you. I do not like chasing other people. And I think that, if you don't bother filling up the form, it also shows lack of commitment sometimes,
Right.
you know, so you can see sometimes who is taking you seriously. They might just not be ready, or they might be a bit too arrogant for you as well. And that happens in this world as well. And that's fine, because you want the speakers to be aligned with you and have great energy. Like I knew today, inviting Marissa to be a guest on my show, that we're going to have a fantastic energy, because she's went through that process vetting me. And I've experienced this. I didn't even need to do this because I knew. But if you've never met a person, it's so important, whether it's a summit, which is summit is interviews anyway. So it's very similar. And you mentioned credibility as well. And this is something that I find, and maybe it brings us to what we were discussing in the beginning, by people resisting to step into the CEO role in their business. But I feel like a lot of people don't really focus on building their credibility. You know, they're not thinking about building, like, why do they need to build even more credibility? They're already so awesome.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, A, they don't understand that they're so awesome, right? Because, and B, we're taught in our world not to brag about ourselves. How many times as a kid growing up were you told, don't brag, right? So when it comes time to really tooting your own horn, that's a difficult thing for a lot of people. You know, when you watch a commercial and you see, the local whatever department store telling you all the cool things about themselves, try to put yourself in that position and say, well, what would I say if I were the one talking about myself and my business in this commercial? What are some of the things that I would share with the world? Well, by running a summit or doing something similar, a podcast, a series of Facebook Lives, whatever that happens to be, you're actually building yourself up as a credible person, because you're the one that's hosting the event. You're the one that's vetting the speakers. You're the one that's asking the speakers the questions. So you're pulling the knowledge from them as that credible source of information. And most importantly, you are sharing that knowledge and information with your audience, thereby becoming the thought leader in their mind for whatever that topic area is that you are covering. So with Juliette, you're all about visibility. So I know if I need to get visible, you are my go-to person, right? I'm all about systems. So you guys know, you can come to me for systems. And it really sets you apart and helps you to work on that credibility without feeling sleazy or salesy or pushy or, braggadocious or whatever all those words are that we were told not to do when we were kids, right? And it allows you that opportunity to really showcase your knowledge and expertise. And that's one of my favorite things about the summit. We talked a moment ago about repurposing the content. And because you're able to then repurpose that, now you've got Insta stories, Facebook stories, blog posts, video clips. Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on. I'm talking with a publisher right now about turning some tracks in the summit into publications. There are so many ways in which you can repurpose the content once you have it. And now not only do my summit attendees know that I'm the thought leader with regard to systems, but all of the other audiences that are going to find all that other content are going to begin to recognize me as those thought leaders in that field. And so that's the cool piece about running a summit. You've got a large amount of content in a short amount of time that literally will fill your content calendar up for years.
That is amazing. And don't forget as well that every time you repurpose something, that creates some sort of landing page, if it's a podcast episode, or maybe, you submitted an article somewhere even, and then you repurposed it on like Medium or Thrive Global, wherever you can just repurpose stuff that you already written and done. Every time it's a landing page. That means that Google will index that landing page, and you're growing your visibility. Somebody Googles your name, you're everywhere. So it really is true. And as somebody who, when I started my visibility journey, and nobody knew me, and I had all my expertise, but it wasn't about visibility as such. I had to go through that process. I started my show first month into my journey. I did 2 a week, which is a lot of commitment. But, the show, I think, in terms of visibility, I find that people will rather tune in when they see 2 people talking. It's almost like they feel like they're missing out on this conversation that's happening, than even if you're just doing a live solo. That's something you can just scroll by.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's so, and you always get a chance in this conversation to put your 2 cents, as Gary Vee says, put your 2 cents in the conversation and showcase yourself as an expert on the subject.
Yeah. And then one of the other things I do for my speakers, a lot of times you show up to a summit, you do your spiel, you maybe share it out to your audience, and that's the end, right? My summits are a little bit different. I actually create a community for my speakers where they can go in and engage and collaborate with one another, because my ultimate goal obviously is to empower women, and women are the speakers that come into my summit. So by creating this community for them, not only are they able to collaborate with one another, but I'm able to collaborate with each one of them. And guys, if you've never tried collaborating with another female entrepreneur in the space, my goodness, you should definitely put that as priority one, because it is a game changer for you and your business. So even if you're not ready to run a summit yet, start seeking out those people to collaborate with and start taking those baby steps toward perhaps running your own summit, because it really is a game changer when you start putting like minds together and your goal is to, support, empower, change the lives, transform the lives of your audience. When 2 or more people come together to do that, you're masterminding, and that is brilliant.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And the energy is fantastic. Marissa, I am so sad to have to wrap up this show, but where can we follow? And maybe, I know that the summit is probably at the time that this show is released, we're going to have the summit is going to be live, but maybe you're the best person to talk us through the next steps.
For sure. You can find me everywhere on every channel under the Systems Lounge. So obviously, that's my social channel all the way, or social handle all the way through all the channels. You can also go to bizsystemsummit.com, bizsystemsummit.com, and that will lead you to all the other summits that I have had in the past. And the 2019 one goes live. I'm not sure when this is going to go live, but that happens this year in September, and it's an annual event. So if you happen to miss this one, plan to catch the next one. I constantly get emails from, attendees and speakers who talk to me all about how the summit has changed their lives. As a matter of fact, I have speakers in the summit this year who have been following me for years and are now in a place in their business where they have stepped into that role and they want to share their knowledge and information. So it really is a game changer.
It's amazing. And I'd say for you, it's such a satisfying feeling to know that you actually touched somebody's lives and it's empowered them to step in and you see this person grow, and then it's just the best feeling in the world. I know that's why I do what I do. It's
for
great.
Sure.
Thank you so much for sharing this. I'm going to have all the links here in the description to this show. Guys, thank you so much for watching this. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments below, and myself and Marissa will come up and we'll address all your questions or concerns. And Marissa, thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you for having me. This has been such an awesome time hanging out with you. Thanks, Juliette.
Thank you. And guys, tune in next week to another episode of Show Up, Stand Out. We will see you later. Bye.